And welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment of our program brought to you by Calhoun's, and you see the many ways they're serving you right now. Delivery, curbside takeout available at Bearden Hill, Pellissippi, that's the original Calhoun's, and at the on the river location downtown. They also offer dine-in delivery, curbside takeout. Maryville, Oak Ridge, Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, I believe those are still there. And then Copper Cellar Markets, it says coming soon. That's because I didn't build a new graphic. They're actually up. They've popped up in different areas. Here's what you need to do. You need to go to Calhoun's Facebook page. They got all the information about exactly what's open, what they're doing at each of those locations, but they have a market set up, which is great. You know, they have food. Well, if your stores aren't 100% open, that food's just going to go away. So what they're doing is they're putting it on sale. It's very cheap, but not only do you get the Calhoun's type food that they use, but you're also helping them meet payroll. They're keeping people employed by this. So it's a good way. When we're talking about these clients today, all of our clients, remember you're also helping their employees, because right now so many of our clients, even though some of them have had to close the doors this week, they're taking care of their people. I mean, everybody, I keep saying that, we're all in this together, and certainly with our family of sponsors, that is true. I want to welcome in the next member of our family here. We got David Oven down there from The Athletic. David, thanks for joining us. Good to see you way down there in our wiped-off desk. You did a fan survey where you asked all fans to reply to some of your questions. We'll go through the answers in a minute. Tell me a little bit about the survey itself.
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to get a sense of where the fan base was on a variety of issues. Coaching, players, big picture, obviously the quarterback race. And we put that out for our subscribers. We had about 300 people do it. So, you know, that feels like a pretty representative sample. Yep. And we were able to get some feedback on what people actually think. There's, you know, sometimes it challenges narratives, sometimes it confirms them, and it was a fascinating exercise.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's get into a couple of the Jeremy Pruitt questions. I thought these were interesting. The first one, you asked folks, how would you rate Jeremy Pruitt's performance so far as Tennessee's coach? And you got a 1 through 5 scale, 1 being poor, 5 being excellent. 4, almost excellent. 70% of the fan base says almost excellent. 7 more say excellent. That's about 78% say almost excellent or excellent. I'm going to guess, could be wrong here, but I'm going to guess if Tennessee doesn't come back against Indiana in the Gator Bowl, that's a different number right now.
You're probably right. I think a lot of Tennessee fans understand the difficulties that he inherited, and I think, you know, you look at, I talked about it a little bit as I kind of broke down those results, but it's interesting that I think he's pretty much on par for expectations through 2 years. You know, I think if you'd have told fans he'd have gone 5-7 in year 1, they probably would have been super pleased, but, you know, you got a couple big wins, you can kind of see it, and then, of course, a 6-game winning streak does wonders for your approval rating as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Josh, it's surprising. I'm not knocking him, but excellent or almost excellent, considering you had a loss to Georgia State in there and a loss to BYU, a team that most of all fans thought, oh, we'll beat BYU. Still getting up there with the excellent grades.
Yeah, if you flip the results with winning the first 2 games but losing a couple at the end, is it the same? I don't know. Yeah. But it didn't go that way. What have you done for me lately? Well, you've won 6 straight, and you signed a top 10 class. So I would say, what have you done for me lately? Fans are saying, well, close to excellent or excellent.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's take a closer look at the next 2 questions. This gets into recruiting a little bit. I thought this was interesting. David, I know you thought this was surprising. How would you rate Pruitt's performance as a game day coach? Again, 1 to 5 scale. You've got about 60% there that said near excellent or excellent in terms of game day coach. How would you rate his performance as a recruiter? You've got nearly 90% there, if I can do my math in my head, saying excellent. They view him as doing a better job recruiting than coaching so far. David, you made an interesting point on that.
Extremely odd, because Jeremy Pruitt, I think, has done a really good job of getting the most out of what he has on his roster. And of course, he's not recruiting well enough to win what Tennessee wants to win, which is national championships, SEC titles. Now, you can get there maybe. I think some of those numbers are probably buoyed by, you look at the 2019 class and you look at, Eric Gray, Henry To'oTo'o, Wanya Morris, Darnell Wright, some big impact guys that say, he's recruiting some studs. And he probably is, but it's odd because I think he is a better game day coach than he has been a recruiter at Tennessee at least. And then, of course, you look at Butch Jones.
Yeah, that's the one.
I mean, Butch Jones is the guy that obviously was recruiting.
He had better recruiting classes.
He was recruiting better than Jeremy Pruitt, and then of course game day coach. I mean, there's not much that needs to be said on that. So,
Yeah.
Josh, your take on that one. I think they've got it flip-flopped as well. It doesn't mean he's not going to be a great recruiter, and it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the top 10 class. But I did find it surprising that he gets a higher grade for recruiting when technically Butch Jones had better recruiting classes to this point.
Yeah, well, I actually struggled with how to answer as I thought about it after seeing the survey results because if Tennessee had won a couple more games earlier in the season, I think they would have had a better chance with a couple of the big names that they wanted as the season went along. They fell out of it with Rakeem Jarrett and Savell Smalls and those guys. Maybe they still don't get them, but Tennessee, it finished on a better note on the field, so it finished better in recruiting. But if it had won more at the beginning of the season, it might have had a better recruiting class. So there is a bit of chicken or the egg. I don't think there's a wrong answer, but I don't think it's decidedly better in one side or the other.
I still think
because I do think Jeremy Pruitt himself had higher expectations for the recruiting part.
Mm-hmm. Again, I would still lean more game day coach over recruiting, but I undercut my own argument when I go back and think about Georgia State and BYU, especially Georgia State. All right, when we come back, how are the Vols going to do in 2020? We'll tell you what you thought about that. And also, who is the favorite player, fans' favorite player on this Tennessee team? I was really surprised by that answer. We'll break it down for you next. We've got plenty more to come, including later in the show, an SEC emergency football plan. We'll explain. Come on back.